Hello, I'm Parker Cyza, and it's time for York Chats. We're joined in here by David Pratt, the ballpark maintenance supervisor here for the city of York. David, thanks so much for joining us in here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to come in and get on the mic.
Absolutely. What's this time of the season, this September time, look like there at the ballpark complex?
Right now we're doing a lot of fall projects, and we only really have 4 of our 8 fields in use. So York University baseball and softball both practice out at the ballpark, as well as the high school softball team here in York as well. Mm-hmm. So daily it's just keeping those 4 fields in shape for those teams, and then we're starting like fall seeding, getting some fall spraying applications put down, all sorts of stuff like that.
Because the winter, it's important to keep that field good through the winter, yep, good into the spring, and then when it's being heavily used in the summer. So kind of take us into just how important that part of the job is, or how big that part of the job is for you.
This time is kind of my preventative maintenance time. So like if I can get all 8 fields graded and set before we close down, that means in the spring, that's one less thing for me to do. I'll have to like retop dress the fields because we get a lot of wind in the Midwest in the winter. And then doing those weed applications, spraying weeds, and then also, getting reseeded. That's another preventative thing where in the spring I have good establishment of turf to start the season. I don't have to fight weeds to start the season. I can just get going and putting down a fertilizer or putting down any sort of other chemical that I need into the soil.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit then, what is a part of your day-to-day? What other things are you responsible for at the ballpark complex as the maintenance director?
So obviously we just kind of talked about a little bit of the turf. Yep. We have 24.5 acres of irrigated turf out at the complex. Obviously dragging fields and marking fields for games. Those are the two big time things that mostly everybody understands that's what I do with my job. But day to day, we go into, general maintenance things. So daily, I am, cleaning up trash around the complex. I am cleaning bathrooms and crow's nests every day. We have a sprinkler system that a couple different companies that help work on it have called a Monster out at the complex. We have 154 sprinkler stations with roughly anywhere between 3 and 10 heads per station. So I'm taking care of 500 to 700 sprinkler heads year round, as well as, our 2 big days for sprinklers here in the fall, we'll winterize, make sure we don't go into any problems when we open back up once we thaw in the spring. And then when we activate again, that's another big project day with sprinklers. But, even we do our own, concrete work out at the complex. Anytime that we have plumbing that needs to be done inside the buildings, that's done by myself and my staff. Any maintenance issue that you can come up with in your head that happens on the grounds is handled by myself and the staff. So outside of the general upkeep of the fields, it's, the buildings and all the little details that go into a full facility rather than just the grounds.
How much education goes into this job, either for you, the student workers you have, or anybody else with the Parks and Rec department? How much is it agronomy, turf management, all of that?
Yeah, and it's easy for me to help teach people because I'm still learning a lot. Yeah. Because I didn't even go to school to do anything like this. Sports management was my degree, so I was more so looking into the backside of things and scheduling and going through the legalities and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still learning, and a step that I've taken is I'm working on getting a sports turf grass certification through the University of Georgia, and with that class, that allows me to not only further myself, but it allows me to also, I have 21 part-time staff in the summers. And so those guys are able to learn a lot, and it helps them decide if this is something they want to do moving forward, as well as, maybe I don't want to be in this field when I go to college, or if I'm in college, maybe I need to, look around and figure something else out for me. But there's a couple of programs through the Sports Field Managers Association. They have a program where you can take an entry-level irrigated turf or just turf quiz, and it kind of tells you where they're at when it comes to the knowledge of taking care of turf or any sort of ball field. And then they actually provide a course where these kids can take like a 100 level turf grass course. And I would like to incentivize that for kids like that, because that's not only helping me, that's helping the city and the ballpark as a whole, because we have more knowledgeable staff inside the ballpark.
And helping so that everybody's kind of on the same page with everything, and just some, and even if it's just entry baseline level stuff, right?
A little bit of uniformity.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Can you tell us about this 2019 economic impact study put on by, I believe, is it the Nebraska Public Power District?
Yes.
The 2019 study on the ballpark complex. What came out from that?
So it was done for the 3 facilities that the Parks and Rec kind of highlights: the community center, the family aquatic center, and the ballpark complex. And just speaking on behalf of the ballpark complex, the new spending money that it brought in, and this was only done throughout our tournament season. So that is considered the beginning of April through the end of July. So 3 months of the season, it only included like our tournaments, so Saturdays and Sundays. It did not include our weekly games with like Fusion or the Knights, or even this year we had
Legion right?
games. Yeah, university baseball games have been out there, softball games, you name it. So this is just the tournaments that come into the facility. For local businesses, new spending money was around $4.4 million annually, just coming in from the ballparks towards our gas stations, restaurants, hotels. And the sales tax revenue from that back towards the city of York ended up being $133,000 is put back towards the city's fund. And it brings, just for the community's sake, 35,000 people annually visit York, and just it helps put our city as a whole kind of further onto the map for the rest of the state of Nebraska.
Absolutely, and keeping that ballpark up to looking great and is something very, very important that you do. When do you start summer work? When do the summer workers start, and how do those applications begin, sort of maybe in the winter or in early spring? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I've been pretty lucky since I started, because we had a pretty solidified group of 10 to 12 kids that worked for a year or two before I started 3 years ago, and then now I've still got all 10, 12 of those kids plus 10 more, because I'm at 21 staff. But anytime they fill out an application, it comes across my desk, it's just the main couple of things that I look for is, did this kid fill out his application correctly? Is it completed? And then after that, I'm willing to take on, any kid that comes out, anybody that's willing to work. But, our season, once they get out of school, it's a little bit easier. We can put them on weekends when they are in school. But May through July, typically I get, 5 to 6 guys that put in full-time hours every week throughout the summer. And then those other 15 guys are working tournaments for me, or just coming in when they can around their sports schedules, because we all know how all sports are now. But it's mainly just getting them in and bringing them in, because I feel like once we get them, the work that we do out there, it's a lot of work, but it's also outside. We like to have fun out at the ballpark complex, because there's no point in having a facility like that if you can't enjoy it while you're working at it. But a lot of the applications that I see come in, in the wintertime, and so that kind of gives me time to sift through them a little bit heavier. And then in the spring, if I can get them to come in, like some college kids, I get to come in on their spring break, and that's when I'll do my initial training. And then once we get into tournament season, we can kind of just, go with our feet already moving a little bit, instead of trying to trip and fall into the busiest time of the year.
He's David Pratt. He's the ballpark maintenance supervisor. It's on the east side of York, and if you've been out there, it's an excellent facility. We got to experience it for the Vincent Classic. We were out there for the Legion baseball tournament at the end of July, and that was you mentioned there were like some Little League action going on over the week. I mean, there was so much going on over the summer, and it was just a fantastic place. Great venue there, and you guys do a fantastic job. I imagine, too, that it might be a little bit less traffic-wise going in the next year. I'm sure, too, with Legion kind of moving back over there. So maybe that takes a little bit off.
I think it will, because this was the first year we ever had Legion.
Yeah.
But first of all, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. That's a testament to my staff, not just myself. Mm-hmm. But I think it'll take a lot off our plate, as well as, we won't have university games in the spring, or like you said, the Legion games will now go back to Leavitt. So that'll help. This year was kind of hectic. We had quite the summer out there, but we made it through. Yep. And, like you said, I've heard a lot of those same sentiments. So, again, thank you guys. And it means a lot to me to be able to bring a facility or upkeep a facility like this for, not only the youth in this town, but just anybody to use these facilities. Because when I was growing up in the same community, we didn't have anything like that. And nothing against Miller Park or Beaver Park or anything, but we just didn't have a facility as nice as the one that we have now. So whatever I can do to make sure that, other people outside the community or people inside the community realize that we have this type of facility, I try to do.
And if you want something, an awesome summer job, if you're somebody out there listening to this, contact David in the York Parks and Rec Department. What's a good way to contact you or anybody there at the York Parks and Rec?
The community center has paper applications. You can go in and just pick one up, fill it out, and it will come across my desk once you get it done. Or you can go on the community center's website. It's on the website. Or even my email is dpratt@cityofyork.net. That's DPRATT at cityofyork.net. Just shoot me an email. I can either send you the form or we can just talk about it via email, and we can hash out the rest after that.
Good stuff. David, thanks so much for being in here today.
Thank you.